Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on with Codominance by CurlyStar09, and today I am going to be reading chapters 19 and 20. Chapter 19, First Day All Around. Kirishima was woken up in the middle of the night by a loud noise by the front door. It was enough to make him jump out of bed. His fist already hardened in case he was under attack. No one was supposed to know he was there. The only people that knew he was there were part of the HC. So why was someone trying to get inside? Kirishima made his way towards the sound carefully, his heart pounding, with his eyes not quite adjusted to the dark. He stayed as quiet as possible. The sound had stopped, but it was clear that someone was inside the safe house. Footsteps as someone made their way around the place. They were in the kitchen, whoever they were, and Kirishima could hear them searching through the drawers and cabinets. He approached slowly. The thought of informing someone or calling for backup crossed his mind, but it was too late to head back to the room where his phone was. He turned the corner, ready for a fight, but he hesitated at the last second. Time passes. Bakugou woke up early. It was supposed to be his first day back at the agency, and he had to get Akio ready for his first day of daycare. He also had to kick Ashido out before he left. He didn't trust her alone in his house after all. So he started by getting himself ready, knowing that Ashido would look after Akio if he woke up. He checked his phone a handful of times, not wanting to contact Kirishima first in case he was busy. He let out a sigh, but tried to push any worry away. Fandom was going to submit the complaint today at the latest, and he would be home in no time. He could wait. He had enough to do. And even if Kirishima was home, they wouldn't be spending the day together after all. Yet, it still fucking sucked not being able to see his partner's smiling face first thing in the morning or being able to kiss him. Bakugou let out a sigh as he exited his room, heading straight to the nursery. Akio was awake in Ashido's arms as she changed his diaper. "Morning," he said as he stepped closer. "Your kid is a mess," Ashido said with a small huff as she finished. Bakugou chuckled. "I can't wait for you to have your own kid and have to do this multiple times a day." Ashido made a face. "Oh, kids come with diapers, don't they?" Bakugou just rolled his eyes before turning to Akio. "Good morning, Gremlin." He kissed his cheek as Akio let out a string of daz in response. "So, the first day of daycare today," Ashido said with a grin as she began teasing. "Are you going to be all right? Are you going to cry?" "Fuck off," Bakugou said as he picked up Akio and started walking towards the kitchen. Ashido let out a laugh as she followed. "You are going to cry when you drop him off, aren't you?" "Am not," Bakugou grumbled as he started to prepare a bottle for Akio. He didn't put his son down, though. He would throw Ashido down if she pointed it out. "Fine, but I do demand pictures to be sent to the group chat," Ashido told him as she crossed her arms. "A gets pictures first," Bakugou told her without missing a beat. "Of course he does," Ashido chuckled. Time passes. The daycare they had chosen was known for having both caring staff and experienced with children of pro heroes. No one was allowed to pick up a child unless they were on the pickup list, which anyone on had to go through an extensive background check and had written permission from one of the parents. That was the main reason they had picked it from all the rest. It also didn't hurt that some of the staff were heroes who had retired early but still had their hero licenses just in case. Bakugou arrived with Akio, a diaper bag swung over his shoulder, and the fat gum plush under his arm. He had asked the daycare if they allowed the kids to bring toys, and he was told that since it was Akio's first time away from them, he was allowed a comfort toy. Of course, that meant Fat Gum got to come along. "All right, Gremlin," Bakugou started as they got close to the front door. "You are going to stay here for a bit, and I'll come pick you up as soon as I'm out. Understand?" Akio looked at him with a wide smile as he started babbling and pointing at the colorful decorations the daycare had pressed against the windows. At least he seemed excited about the new things he was seeing. "Good morning," a young woman greeted them as they walked into the door with a bright smile. "You must be Mr. Bakugou and Akio," she exclaimed when they got closer to the door. "Good morning," Bakugou responded. It was probably a good idea to be as nice as possible to the people that would be spending time with Akio. "Yes, that's us." "We are very excited to have Akio join us," she smiled. "I'm Sakura, and I'm going to be Akio's main caregiver, which is why I'm the one greeting you today." "This is Akio," Bakugou said as he set Akio on the counter in order to hand over the diaper bag. "I know we discussed it with the director before, but..." "No worries, I've been informed about Akio's separation anxiety," she said with an understanding smile as she waved at Akio, who was busy looking around the colorful room. "I will also make sure to let you know how he's doing throughout the day. I do have a question. Would you like the updates to be sent only to you or also to your husband?" she asked with a bit of a tilt to her head. Bakugou blinked a couple of times, cheeks growing slightly red. "Husband?" He let out a cough to try to cover up his embarrassment and ignored how the word made his stomach and heart flutter. "To both, if possible," he told her, not correcting her, a small part of him hoping she would say it again. "All right," she said as she wrote down a note about it on the clipboard she had in front of her. "I know he has no experience with other infants his age, so we'll make sure to keep an eye on him and the others to see how he reacts to them." "Thanks. That's very appreciated," Bakugou told her with a nod. "We have a setup in case you want to take pictures," she told him with a smile. "What?" Bakugou asked with a raised eyebrow. "Parents always want to take pictures of their kids' first day of daycare," she told him, pointing at the whiteboard in the corner next to an armchair. Bakugou blinked a couple of times. "Yeah, thanks." Sakura didn't say anything as he took Akio and placed him on the armchair. Akio looked confused but was still smiling and babbling as he looked around. The whiteboard had some really elegant letters reading, "My first day of daycare," with a small drawing of building blocks and other common toys. Bakugou couldn't help but think they had made the right decision in daycare as he snapped photos of Akio before heading back towards Sakura. "If anything happens, call me right away," Bakugou told her, trying not to make it sound like a threat, but failing. "Yes, sir," she said with a nod, as if unbothered by his tone. "He likes to have his fat gum toy nearby while he's napping," he added. "I will keep that in mind," Sakura told them. "All right," Bakugou said, but for some reason he couldn't turn around and leave. He kissed Akio's cheek once, then twice. "Love you, Gremlin. Be good." He took a deep breath, handing him over to Sakura. Akio looked at her with curiosity before turning to look at Bakugou. He looked so confused before saying, "Dada," reaching his little arms out towards Bakugou. "I'll pick you up as soon as I can," Bakugou promised as he took a step back, then another. "Goodbye, Mr. Bakugou. We will wait for you here," Sakura told him with a small bow. Bakugou nodded and finally turned around to walk out. It wasn't until the door was closing behind him that he heard Akio start crying in a panic for him. It broke his heart. He almost turned around and took him back. It was his fucking agency, and he could take his kid with him if he wanted to, after all. What the fuck were they gonna do? He would just fire whoever dared to question him. But he didn't. This was a good decision. They had made a good decision for Akio. He needed to be around other kids his age, and he needed to get used to being without them. With their line of work, they could be called away on mission suddenly, that they couldn't take a child on. So Bakugou walked away. A sense of guilt settled in his stomach, and it would not leave no matter how much he reasoned with it. Time passes. Bakugou sent Kirishima the pictures he had taken of Akio, unable to pick just one, sending a good morning text and asking him how he was doing before he started driving. His agency was only a couple minutes away, another reason they had chosen that daycare for Akio. It was also a couple of minutes from Kirishima's workplace. Bakugou arrived at his agency checking his phone, but still no reply from Kirishima. He frowned. It usually didn't take Kirishima long to text him back. Bakugou couldn't shake his spiraling thoughts as he walked into his agency. He was swarmed as soon as he stepped inside. Sidekicks, interns, social media managers, and everyone that could possibly want to talk to him. When had he lost the ability to make everyone back up as soon as he glared? He let out a groan. He needed an action plan for this whole fucking mess. Back the fuck up, he told them as he pushed past them. I'm going to my office. I've got patrol in an hour. If anyone needs me, I will deal with it after patrol. If you need something that had to be done yesterday, I better not fucking find you because all of you know how to send a fucking email. Suddenly, everyone around him was rushing off and he let out a sigh. Fuck, running an agency was a fucking mess. Bakugou checked his phone once more. Still no word from Kirishima. He frowned at his phone as he sat at his desk before he started to dial Fat Gum. Hey, Dynamite, how's it going? Fat Gum answered. Hey, Gum, Bakugou said. Have you heard from Kirishima? Fat Gum was quiet for a second. I haven't, but I did submit the complaint first thing this morning. Thanks, Bakugou said, now more worried than before. Let me know if you get any updates. Will do, Fat Gum told him before hanging up. Time passes. You really thought I was trying to hurt you? Hagakure huffed as she ate the pancakes she had made for breakfast. What was I supposed to think? They didn't tell me to expect anyone else, Kirishima said with a small huff. They had the same conversation hours before when he had found Hagakure going through the kitchen in the middle of the night. They had discussed each other's appearance briefly before heading to bed to get some sleep. Yeah, and they told me this was a solo mission when I took it months ago, Hagakure told him. Kirishima was pretty sure she was rolling her eyes at him. That just means I got sent out here for nothing, Kirishima said with a sigh, running a hand through his hair. Pretty much, she told him. You guys really pissed someone off. Kirishima couldn't deny it. He was missing so much time with his family due to Sato having a power trip. So what is this mission about? He asked instead, not wanting to think about how Akio was probably getting dropped off at daycare. He should be with Bakugou, taking pictures and asking a million questions to make sure their son was going to be safe and taken care of. You didn't read the file? Hagakure asked as Kirishima watched a plate be carried to the sink. I did read it, but as I said, they didn't give me much info on anything, Kirishima told her. I know it has to do with quirk-enhancing drugs, and that's their excuse to involve me. Yes and no, Hagakure answered. It is actually more surveillance to make sure there is no one from the drug ring that was distributing it is still around. Us now, I guess, have to make sure they didn't miss anyone in the roundup. Kirishima let out a groan, which could take months. Which is why I was so shocked that they sent you, especially since they told me this was a solo mission and even made me promise not to tell my location to even Eijirou, Hagakure said with a sigh. Then there was the scare you gave me last night. You're the one that came in making so much noise, you probably woke up the whole neighborhood, Kirishima defended himself. I told you, I tripped on your things. I thought they were provisions from HC, so I didn't even question it. The only reason you didn't punch me was that you couldn't see me. Yeah, sorry about that, Kirishima told her while scratching the back of his neck. It's all right. There's a reason why I love being invisible, Hagakure said cheerfully. Well, since I'm here, is there anything I can help you with? Kirishima asked. Not really. Everything doesn't start till evening. I should be sleeping right now, actually. Again, sorry for showing up. It's not on you. It's on HC, she said, her voice implying the shrug that Kirishima couldn't see. They talked a bit more, mostly about the mission they were now apparently working on together. Then a bit on their personal lives. Hagakure went on in detail about her wedding plans and how Eijirou was also very excited about the planning. Now, tell me, how's it going with your baby? Akio, right? She asked. Kirishima couldn't stop himself from smiling at his son's name. It's going great. Today is his first day of daycare. Kirishima couldn't help but let his smile turn sad. Aw, and you had to miss that? Yeah, Kat said he would send me pictures at least. Oh, show me, Hagakure shrieked excitedly. Kirishima laughed, reaching for his pocket, but his phone wasn't there. I left my phone in the room. I'll be right back, Kirishima told her as he got up. It didn't take long to get his phone that was still plugged into its charger. He smiled at seeing the message from Bakugou waiting. He opened them up, finding a good amount of pictures of Akio next to a sign announcing that it was his first day of daycare, looking confused in some photos but smiling in most. Good morning, A. I just dropped Akio off at daycare, he cried as soon as I left. Kirishima was still smiling at the pictures when he arrived back at the kitchen. Aw, what made you smile like that? Hagakure asked. Pictures of Akio, Kirishima admitted, turning his phone over for Hagakure, who started gushing at them immediately. He is such a handsome little boy, she told him. I can't believe we haven't had a Class A reunion just for everyone to meet him. Maybe when he gets older, he's not used to being around a lot of people, Kirishima told her with a small chuckle. To be honest, he was still scared of too many people finding out about Akio's past. Hagakure herself didn't know the whole story after all. Time passes. You shitty-haired bastard. Bakugou answered his phone, relief washing over him at just the fact that he was finally hearing from his partner. Why the fuck did you not answer me? I'm so sorry, sweetheart, Kirishima apologized. Turns out I wasn't the only one on this mission, but no one bothered to tell either one of us. Who are you working with? Bakugou asked, trying to pretend he was still upset. Hagakure. She says hello, by the way, Kirishima told him. Wait, that means this mission is... Yeah, no worries. She is submitting a complaint about it at this very moment. I would honestly hurt her mission rather than help. Kirishima finished for him as Bakugou trailed off. Bakugou just frowned. This had really just been an excuse to send Kirishima away. That may get you home sooner, Bakugou finally decided. Which is great, because I miss you and Akio so much already, Kirishima said with a small sigh. Once this is over, can we get a babysitter so I can take you out on a proper date? Bakugou could hear the pout in Kirishima's voice. That depends. Where are you taking me for this proper date? Bakugou couldn't help the smirk that formed on his lips as he leaned back on his chair. He didn't have time for this. His patrol started in a couple minutes. Well, I was thinking dinner at one of those fancy restaurants you like, Kirishima started, but then I thought we could go axe throwing. Two very good choices, Bakugou told him with a chuckle. We could do both, if you think you can handle throwing an axe with a suit on, Kirishima told him. It was a clear challenge. I can, and will still beat you, Bakugou told him. Kirishima laughed, and the sound made Bakugou smile, wishing he could see his partner laughing. I love you, cats, Kirishima said softly. I love you too, Bakugou replied. So hurry up and get back home. I'll do my best, Kirishima assured him. The Hero Commission would have to deal with 2 complaints about this mission now, so it was only a matter of time. Chapter 20. Wrapped up. Kirishima had nothing to do. It was frustrating just to sit around in a safe house as he waited. He had files to read through, though, but it felt like something that would be a waste of time if he was just going to be sent home and not allowed to be part of the mission. It was all a waiting game, and it was so boring. That was the part of hero work that he had never gotten used to, all of the waiting. The only thing keeping him going at this moment were the updates Akio's teacher was sending them every hour or so to a group chat with Bakugou. A picture of Akio with a short sentence or two about how he was doing on his first day of daycare. He knew it was something they did for only the first week or so, but it gave him peace of mind that Akio was safe. His little pebble had been adjusting well, according to his new teacher. He had been upset at first, but having his fat gum plush had been a comfort, according to one of the messages. The last picture he had received had been of Akio eating a snack, his mouth dripping red from smashed watermelon, with a wide smile on his face. It was surreal just how much he missed his child. There was nothing else to do but go through files from work that were waiting for him back at the agency. At least the ones he was able to access electronically. He was working on reports, evaluations for the interns, and just about anything he had put off before or had an upcoming deadline. That's when he got an email from Midoriya. It was secured, which wasn't surprising. Midoriya had a tendency of sending everything secured due to being a bit paranoid. He opened the email to find a long PDF attachment of notes relating to Akio's case, mostly on where he had narrowed the search for the remaining villains in the extremist group that was still on the loose. There was a lot of information to read through, so it was a good place to start. Time passes. Bakugou missed hero work. He had taken almost a month off, and it was like the criminals and villains of his usual patrol thought it was safe to come out once more and act like idiots. He had a feral grin on his face as he got to kick their asses, resulting in more action than he had seen this side of town in over a year. It was fucking great. A good way to get back into gear after such a long break. Of course, he didn't regret the time he had taken away from work to set up his home in order to welcome Kirishima and Akio. It just felt great to be back in action, and even more when he knew his kid was safe. His route was a couple of blocks away from Akio's daycare, and he had to remind himself that he couldn't just show up for a quick visit. He didn't want the gremlin to panic once more when he had to head back to the agency. After his patrol, he was able to get some paperwork done and dealt with some of the most pressing issues his staff had for him. Most of it was revolting signatures and approvals needed. Others were mostly future projects and missions the agency would be part of. Before he knew it, he was engulfed in his work, finding a rhythm and getting a lot of his to-do list done. He had been so lost in what he was doing that his phone ringing made him jump slightly. He had put his office phone on Do Not Disturb, and his calls were being redirected to his assistant with clear instructions on the only calls he would allow interruptions for, and a threat on what would happen if anything else got through. He had left his cell phone available due to the updates on Akio, but he hadn't been expecting any calls. "What?" he answered without looking, his eyes still focused on the budget spreadsheet in front of him. "Kachan, I have to talk to you about something," Deku's voice came through. "Then fucking tell me," Bakugou told him with an eye roll as he leaned back on his chair. "I was looking at the files for all of the kids that they created in that place in order, and..." "Didn't Icy Hot tell you that you needed to step away from those files?" Bakugou said with a sigh. They had both decided to take a break from the files having to do with the actual children that had been lost, for lack of a better word. "First of all, I let Shoto know what I was doing," Midoriya said, making his tone sound like he had already been chastised enough for it. "Second, I found out a few more details they took for the process they were going through, and I was able to eliminate a couple more hospitals from the list." "That's good, so why the fuck are you calling me? You didn't find the one we need to go after yet, so this is a waste of time," Bakugou grumbled. "I'm fucking busy over here." "Too busy daydreaming about red hair and big muscles," Deku teased with a small chuckle. "Some of us actually run a fucking agency," Bakugou yelled, ignoring the fact that Deku was in charge of All Might's old agency. He was going to explode the bastard as soon as he saw him, maybe even send him to that hospital bed he loved so much. "I will never understand why you don't just talk to Kirishima about how you feel," Deku told him with a sigh. You two have been so close since UA. You should just have a conversation already. Bakugou suddenly remembered he hadn't told Deku about him and Kirishima being official, and he felt a mischievous grin on his lips. What the hell would you know? He said, trying to sound annoyed. I know that at least you would get an answer, Deku told him. Well, too bad it's my life and you have no say in it, Bakugou said with a small hum. Kachan, you can't be living with the man you love and the child you have together and pretend it's not a big deal, Deku chastised. If that's all you have to say, I'm hanging up, nerd, Bakugou said with an eye roll. Wait, I still have more to tell you, Deku exclaimed in a half panic. Then spit it out already. Okay, fine. I started from the beginning of the research, and it seems they started out in a small hospital and then relocated due to not having the right equipment. This means we can focus on hospitals that gain personnel around the same time frame like the one in the notes, and we can narrow it down if my theory is correct anyway. All right, that's a place to start, Bakugou said, running a hand through his hair. So, can I send you the info so you can help me look into it? You were just calling to dump work on me then, Bakugou huffed. I'll send you some of the info, Deku answered without denying the accusation, which meant that Bakugou had been correct. Remind me to kill you when I see you, Bakugou mumbled. As if you would be able to, Deku replied before hanging up. Time passes. The call came in around 3 in the afternoon. Kirishima started on his phone announcing a call from the HC. He picked it up with a shaking hand. Hello? Mr. Red Riot? The voice on the other side of the phone asked. That's me, hoping he didn't sound too nervous. Good afternoon, Mr. Red Riot. I am calling from the compliance department at the Hero Commission. It has come to our attention that not only were you assigned to a mission that had already been active for months without any approval from the higher-ups, but also that it was done while you were already approved for another mission? Yes, that's right, Kirishima said as he flexed one of his hands nervously. Do you know who assigned you this mission? The man said, and Kirishima could hear some typing over the phone. Yes, it was Sato, Kirishima said, trying to keep his tone steady. Thank you. I will place you on a quick hold. Is that all right? Yeah? Kirishima answered, unsure how else to reply. There was a click and waiting music started playing. Kirishima stood up and paced the room as he waited. What was this all about? Were they trying to contact Sato? Were they trying to come up with some excuse to make him stay? He was spiraling, even wondering if the citation for abandoning his post would be worth it. His reputation as a hero may take a dive, but it may be worth the risk. Mr. Red Riot? The voice startled Kirishima back into his focus. Still here, he said. We do apologize for the mix-up. It seems that you were placed on this mission without any reason or paperwork submitted. It is almost as if you got placed there randomly. The man sounded confused as he tried to explain. Usually there is so much paperwork to even introduce a new hero to an active mission, so something like this almost never happens. Then what should I do now? Kirishima asked. First, I need to ask you some questions on how this happened. File a formal complaint on your part, and then we will see about extraction, the man said in a cheery tone as if trying to encourage Kirishima. Kirishima nodded. All right, what do you need to know? The questions started simple, and Kirishima did his best to answer with as many details as possible. The more info he gave, the more it seemed like Sato had done a lot that she never reported to the rest of the Hero Commission. Her job was completely different than what he had been told. Sato was supposed to be a point of contact between them and the Hero Commission, helping them handle the PR that came along with Akio being out in the open. Not only was she supposed to renegotiate the rules they had established with the HC in order to shape how the situation had been changed, she was supposed to help them, but all she had done was threaten them. Kirishima felt himself growing angrier by the second. This is why the Hero Commission had such a horrible reputation. There were a lot of people that went on power trips trying to show they had control over others. After some time, Kirishima was transferred to someone else who was to take some more info in order to figure out when he could head home. It was a bit surreal, and even more when he realized he could be home that same night. Time passes. Bakugou picked Akio up from daycare right on time. He had told everyone at his agency that if someone stopped him on his way out, he would make sure they worked overtime for at least 3 months. He made it to the daycare, being greeted by a cheerful middle-aged receptionist that asked for his ID and for who he was picking up. When he said he had come to pick up Kirishima Akio, her face lit up. "He is such a wonderful little boy," she told him as she typed something up on her computer in front of her. "I help with the younger children. He was so nervous at first, but then he just seemed to enjoy being around the others." "That's great to hear," Bakugou said. "We were worried that he would have trouble being around other kids." "Nothing to worry about. He seemed quite excited to make some new friends. Are you sure he hasn't been around other children before? He adjusted so quickly." She smiled. She excused herself to call Akio to be taken to the front for pickup. It only took a couple minutes for Akio to come out in Sakura-sensei's arms. The gremlin's smile widened as soon as he saw Bakugou, reaching for him and trying to push away from his teacher. "Da!" he exclaimed with pure excitement that made Bakugou grin. "Hey, gremlin, told you I would be back," Bakugou said as he took Akio, kissing his cheeks. Akio wasted no time babbling away about his day as Bakugou grinned, humming along for a bit before turning towards his son's teacher. "Did he cause any trouble?" he asked, only because it seemed like the polite thing to ask, not that he thought his kid would ever cause any trouble. "None at all. He was a wonderful student." Sakura smiled at him. "I think he adjusted rather quickly. I did see the separation anxiety you talked about, but other than that, I think he had fun." "That's good," Bakugou told her with a small sigh of relief. "Thank you for looking after him." "No problem at all," she smiled. "You are bringing him in tomorrow as well?" "Yeah, I know it's Saturday, but I have to work and his other dad is still out of town, so..." Bakugou trailed off. "That's no problem. Just letting you know that on the weekends there is a different teacher," Sakura explained. "All right, thank you for the heads up," he told her with a nod. "I placed his fat gum plush in the diaper bag for safekeeping," she explained as she handed over Akio's diaper bag, which seemed to be a bit fuller than usual. "Thank you again," Bakugou told her. "Say goodbye, Akio." Akio raised his hand as if waving, making both Bakugou and Sakura chuckle. "Goodbye, Akio," she said as she watched them walk out. Time passes. He completely forgot that Sarah was coming to stay the night. He had received a message from the tape hero during the day proclaiming that it was his turn to sleep over. He had ignored the message, not even bothering with a reply, and now there was Sarah at his door with a grin and some fried chicken. "I got dinner," he announced as he held the chicken higher as if it was a peace offering. Bakugou let out an irritated sigh. "Get in here then, tape face." He opened the door and let Sarah in. "Where's the little dude?" Sarah asked as he walked in. "He's in his playpen," Bakugou said, not even finishing before Sarah started making his way over, only stopping to place the chicken on the kitchen table. "Hey, Akio," he exclaimed as Akio turned to look at him with wide eyes. "How was your first day of daycare?" he asked as he leaned against the playpen. "You're going to give him nightmares with that face," Bakugou told him, pushing him back with a hand against his face before turning to pick up Akio. "So rude. I can't believe our sweet Kiri is with such a meanie." Sarah pouted. "Raccoon Eyes told you then." Bakugou grumbled. Of course she had. "Almost as soon as you told her." Sarah grinned widely. "Of fucking course." Bakugou groaned. "Does that mean I can tell Kirishima that you named your cat after his hero name now?" Sarah asked with excitement. "Do you want to get killed?" Bakugou asked with a raised eyebrow. "Oh, come on, man. I've been keeping it a secret for so long. I haven't even told Mina. Worse, I haven't even told Denki." "Denki!" Sarah exclaimed as he let himself fall onto the sofa dramatically. "Which is probably why no one knows," Bakugou told him with an eye roll. Me lleva la que me trajo. Pensé que ya les podía decir a todos, Sarah whined. Well, too bad, Bakugou told him. He was pretty sure he understood what Sarah said anyways. It was always a complaint about not being able to say anything. Why do you not want anyone to know? I thought it was because it would reveal how gone you are for Kiri, but now I think it's just because you are an obsessed fanboy. Sarah huffed, but reached over to take Akio from Bakugou. Your dad is so confusing sometimes, he told Akio, who was too busy trying to pull off Sarah's beanie. You're so fucking annoying, Bakugou told him as he sat on the sofa. Such language, Sarah said as he made faces at the gremlin, making him giggle. Why are you the one spending the night again? Because it was either me or Denki, and I think I was the best out of the two options, Sarah shrugged. Bakugou considered it for a second before nodding. Fair enough. See, he does like me. He's just grumpy, Sarah told Akio, who just looked at him with wide eyes. Time passes. They had dinner together. Bakugou thanked Sarah for bringing dinner while telling him to put Akio down for a second. Sarah had refused to let go of Akio since he first got him, insisting that he take advantage. He's too cute to put down, Sarah insisted. Bakugou didn't have a problem with it, but he was starting to get annoyed that he couldn't hold his own son. At least it gave him some time to do some cleaning around the house that he had been putting off. It was rather amusing since Sarah followed him around the apartment, making conversation with Akio in his arms. So, if Alberto has to say a secret from everyone, can I at least tell Mina? She was allowed to tell me about the two of you. Why can't I tell her this? Sarah said, bringing up the cat name situation yet again. Bakugou wasn't even surprised. It was always something that Sarah tried to argue at least twice every time they met. No, because she will tell A about it, Bakugou told him. No, she won't, Sarah defended his girlfriend. Can you just leave it? He's my cat, and I named him what I wanted to name him, Bakugou grumbled as he organized some of Akio's clothes that he had just taken out of the dryer. You named him Riot in Spanish. That alone makes it my issue, Sarah exclaimed. If you had chosen any other language, and I mean any, I would have never known. So this is all on you. Bakugou frowned at the comment as he folded some of Akio's onesies into a drawer. He hated to admit that Sarah was right. He should have picked something else, but the name just seemed to fit Al. He had forgotten that Sarah would figure him out. No, actually, he was going to just refer to Alberto as Al. Kirishima is the one that gave him away, telling Sarah excitedly about the fact that Bakugou had named his cat Alfred in Spanish. Did you finish the paperwork for the mission that I sent you? Bakugou said instead, going for a change of subject. Yeah, field and pending approval so that I can help you guys take down the people that hurt this little dude, Sarah said as he squished Akio's cheek slightly, causing the baby to let out a short giggle. Good, we are going to need a lot of help, Bakugou said as he thought about the still impossibly long list of hospitals they needed to go through. Sure thing, anything you need. Just don't give me any details yet, Sarah warned. Not approved, so I know nothing. I'll look into it first thing in the morning to make sure you get approved, Bakugou assured. If they were to conduct interrogations starting on Monday, it would be helpful to have Sarah there. He never told his friend outright, but Sarah had a talent when it came to interrogating. Maybe villains would rather talk than having to put up with his annoying ass. Nice, Sarah exclaimed. Now, if you excuse us, we are going to go play. Time passes. Kirishima didn't tell Bakugou that he may be heading home earlier than expected, mostly because he didn't want to get his partner's hopes up. Part of him was waiting for HC to tell him that he had to stay while they figured out the situation. He got the call rather late telling him he was free to head back home. A bit past 9 that night, He let out a sigh of relief as they asked him when he wanted to head out, to which he replied immediately. He said goodbye to Hagakure, promising her that she could call him in order to plan a meetup for her to meet Akio. She gave Kirishima a hug and thanked him for being willing to help her in the mission before telling him to head home already. He jumped into the car the hero commission had sent to pick him up, letting out a relieved sigh. He would be back home in a couple of hours. He had been right about one thing. They had tried to disorient him the first time they took him to the hideout. It took so much less time to get to the private airport, and the plane flight was also shorter than he remembered. Then again, maybe it was the excitement building up that made it seem so much faster. By 2 a.m, he was standing outside their home. He had been told by the person dropping him off that he was expected to be at HC first thing in the morning, but he didn't care at that moment as he walked towards the front door with a small smile. He tried to be as quiet as possible as he unlocked the door, dropping his suitcases near the door. He could deal with it later. He made his way into the house as silently as possible, his eyes still adjusting to the darkness. Surprised by the fact that Riot hadn't come to greet him, but he was probably outside for the night. It wasn't unusual for him to want to spend the night outside in his doghouse when the weather was nice after all. He made his way down towards the hallway, wondering if he should check on Akio or go surprise Bakugou. Suddenly, he felt something wrapping around his torso, holding his arms to his side. What the? He didn't get to finish when he felt a hand landing on his face. He hardened out of pure instinct right before he felt the explosion going off in his face, strong enough to knock him on the floor since he couldn't adjust his footing against the impact. He fell to the ground with a groan, preparing for whatever came next. "Eh?" Bakugou said in a soft, shocked voice as the lights were switched on. "Hey, babe," Kirishima said with a small groan. "Oh, hey, Sero," Kirishima added when he saw his friend standing beside his partner. "Hold up," Sero said, placing a hand on Bakugou's shoulder to stop him from unbinding Kirishima from the tape wrapped around him. "How do we know it's really him?" he questioned with narrowed eyes. "Hanta, unwrap me, or I will tell Mina what really happened to her favorite leather jacket in our 3rd year," Kirishima threatened. Sero blinked twice before removing his arm from Bakugou's shoulders. "Yep, okay, we can unwrap him." Bakugou rolled his eyes, dropping next to Kirishima immediately. "Idiot, what are you doing here?" he asked as he placed a hand on Kirishima's cheek. "I have lots to tell you," Kirishima stated as Bakugou and Sero started cutting off the tape. "You could have at least let me know you were on your way, shitty hair," Bakugou huffed, but there was a hint of a smile on his face. Finally, Kirishima was free enough to cut Bakugou's face. "I wanted to surprise you," Kirishima told him, kissing Bakugou's forehead. "And you ended up flat on your back," Sero chimed in. "Go away," Kirishima told him with a groan. "Nah, this is entertaining." "Leather jacket," Kirishima warned. Sero looked at him for a second before turning to Bakugou. "Cat. God fucking damn it. We have known each other way too fucking long for this bullshit." Bakugou grumbled as he stood up, extending a hand to Kirishima to help him up. "It does come with benefits and downfalls," Sero mused. "Can I kiss my partner now?" Kirishima asked, exasperated. Bakugou wasting no time, pulling Kirishima down by his t-shirt until their lips met, kissing him slowly. Kirishima melted into the kiss, letting out the smallest whine. God, he had missed the way Bakugou tasted, how he smelled, the way he kissed that couldn't be described since it was perfect mix of forceful and sweet. He had just missed everything about him. Once they pulled away, Bakugou had the sweetest hint of a smile on his lips. "Hi." "Hi," Kirishima echoed back as he smiled. "You guys are so sappy," Sero interjected. "Why are you still here?" "It was your idea to have the idiots stay the night," Bakugou told him with an eye roll. "Bad idea. I see that now," Kirishima sighed. First of all, I'm right here, and to my credit, I helped stop a home invader, Sero told them as he pointed to himself and then at Kirishima. Second, nice to see you too, bro. I'm going back to bed. You two don't have too much fun. Please, the walls are thin. With that, Sero turned away with a wave, mumbling under his breath about annoying friends and how the jacket thing had been an accident. Kirishima was standing with Bakugou now in an empty hallway, and he wasted no time wrapping his arms around him and burying his face in the blonde's neck. I missed you, he whispered. I missed you too, eh? Bakugou told him, a hand going to Kirishima's hair and the other wrapping around him. Also, I'm going to need you to tell me about the jacket thing so I can use that against Tapeface. Oh, that's easy enough, Kirishima said with a small chuckle. Remember that really nice pink leather jacket Mina lost during our third year? Yeah, she whined and cried about it for weeks. It didn't get lost. Sero tried it on as a joke and ripped it to shreds, Kirishima explained with a shake of his head. What? How? Bakugou gasped. Elbows, Kirishima answered simply, and the look Bakugou gave him made it clear that he understood. Oh, she would kill him for that, Bakugou said with a wicked grin. Yeah, no hesitation, Kirishima laughed before pulling away slightly. Is Akio asleep? Should be, Bakugou told him as he pulled away, reaching for Kirishima's hand as they made their way to Akio's nursery. Akio was still fast asleep. Kirishima was glad the racket from earlier hadn't woken him up as he leaned down to kiss his son's forehead. Good night, little pebble, he whispered before turning back to his partner. Time for bed? He asked, and Bakugou just smiled. They made their way to Bakugou's bedroom, which technically was now their room. Kirishima changed into a pair of sleeping shorts and decided to go to bed shirtless, not wanting to waste time. Once he was ready for bed, he turned to find Bakugou waiting for him, and he wasted no time joining him under the covers. He curled up to Bakugou in no time, the blonde wrapping his arms around his partner. I'm so relieved you're home, Bakugou whispered, his arms tightening slightly. Kirishima kissed Bakugou's shoulder since it was in reach. Me too, sweetheart. I know we have a lot to talk about, Bakugou trailed off. Tomorrow, Kirishima assured him. I'll explain everything. Bakugou nodded against him before readjusting slightly, his nose buried in Kirishima's hair. Kirishima let out a content sigh. He was finally home. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me for chapters 19 and 20. We have officially made it halfway through the fic. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and I hope that you'll stick around for the second half. See you next time.